Welcome back. All right, so in my continuing look at teams that have been eliminated from the first round of the playoffs, today I'm looking at Dallas, which means that I have left Toronto for last in the playlist of first round knockouts in this year's playoffs. And for Dallas, this was quite the run, and it was an up and down season. There were times where it looked like they might threaten to finish in the top three, and there were times where it looked like they might not make it at all. Right up until the last couple weeks of the season, there were points where it looked like they might end up finishing out. Vegas might finish in, and that's that. But in the end, they do finish 46, 30, and 6. They did finish ahead of Nashville as well, so they got the number one wildcard spot. And so Calgary, they had quite the defensive series with Calgary. They end up losing in Game 7, so they lose it 4-3. But it was a good round. And I think that one thing coming out of this is that there's reason for hope. There's also reason to be concerned about what the immediate plans for the future are. Jamie Benn, Tyler Sagan take up a lot of money out of the cap, and they don't produce at a rate that you would hope to see from guys who make as much money as they do, at least as the cap hit, right? Which is all we're really worried about. Now, going into the playoffs in the month of April, they were 8-5-3. Decent record being 500, but again, there were nights that they had problems. That game against Arizona, I don't know what happened there. It looked like it was going to be a laugher, and then Arizona comes back and wins it in extra time. So for Dallas, again, your prediction, my prediction could be completely different, and it could be based on the information that we're given throughout this board here. So their leading scorers in the playoffs, Joe Pavelski, to the surprise of no one, led them with 3 goals and 3 assists. Roope Hintz, 2 goals, 2 assists. He is a huge part of the future and the present. The Hintz, Pavelski, Robertson line was fantastic. Tyler Sagan, 2 goals, 2 assists. I don't think I'm speaking out of line to say Dallas wants more out of Sagan. Robertson, a goal and 3 assists. And Raffl, who I thought had a decent round, 2 goals and an assist for him. And of course, Jake Ottinger, stealing all the headlines in round 1. 3-4 record with a .954 save percentage. Absolutely crazy save percentage for him, and just a great series overall. That series against Calgary started out pretty slow and boring, to be honest, but by the end of it, it was pretty entertaining, even though the scores didn't come up that much. There was just more wide open back and forth play. Now, during the regular season, Pavelski's their leading scorer there too. 27 goals, 54 assists, 81 points. One of the best years of his career, and he's supposed to be winding it down. He's fighting that. Robertson, 41 goals, 38 assists for 79 points. Roope Hintz, 37 goals, 35 assists, 72 points. I think there's a 40-goal season there. I don't know about 50, but Robertson could hit 50 at some point in his career. Tyler Sagan, 24 goals, 25 assists, 49 points. They do want more. Klingberg, 6 goals, 41 assists, 47 points. And of course, the will they, won't they trade of Klingberg became a they didn't. And now the question becomes one of, do they trade his rights or do they sign him? I think we'll see it go one way or the other over the next little while here. Klingberg's saying he wants to stay in Dallas. I think Dallas would like to keep him. I think it's about keeping him on a relatively team-friendly deal and not paying necessarily a full 8-year contract, which is apparently what he wanted, right? It was 8 years. Then in net, the regular season goaltending, Ottinger, 30, 15, and 1. So he wins 30 games. 914 save percentage, which is slightly higher than Holtby, who was 10-10 and 1 with a 913. Wedgewood was excellent after the acquisition from Arizona. 3-1 and 3 with a 913 save percentage. I thought he played very well. I honestly wouldn't mind if they brought Wedgewood back as a backup for Ottinger. I think that's a decent tandem. Hudobin, 3-4 and 1. 879 save percentage, and I really think Hudobin's done at the NHL level. Just at this stage, and at his age, I think he's probably done at the NHL level. But we have seen goaltenders go through reclamation projects before and come out the other side looking pretty good. So we'll see if Hudobin ends up somewhere else for next season. There were rumors about him being dealt throughout the year. So I wouldn't be surprised if they deal him at some point. His contract's not expired yet. It expires next year, so we'll see. So their pending UFA list is interesting. Rajalov, UFA. I don't think Rajalov comes back. I'd honestly be kind of surprised if Dallas did bring him back, and it certainly would not be at the same cap hit. Raffl, they bring him back, that's fine. If they don't, I think that's a replaceable part in the bottom 6. Nemesnikov I liked. Nemesnikov I liked the versatility, his ability to play up and down the lineup as needed. I'd kind of like to see him come back. It feels like he fits in with what Dallas has going on. And then you have Klingberg. And again, at 8 years, I think that gets a little bit pricey. And I don't know that contract ages necessarily very well. Dallas has some contracts that may not age well. I look at Ben's, I look at Sagan's, and again, those are just two examples. So we'll see what happens, how Jim Nill plays this. Sekera probably on his way out, I would think. I would be kind of surprised if they bring him back. I would like to see Thomas Harley given a more increased role in this upcoming season as well for them. I think there's a lot of good parts to this lineup. And, like for instance, if you let Raffle go, give Tufty a chance for a bottom six role. Get him into some games as a bottom six. Sure, he may not end up being a top six, but throw him in the bottom six. But he's in the RFA list. I don't have him listed here because he did spend most of the season in the minors. But there is the chance, of course, that Dallas doesn't offer him a qualifying offer. He becomes an unrestricted free agent because Dallas decides to go in a different direction. It's possible. Now, Wedgewood and Holtby are both UFAs. Like I said, I would not be surprised if Wedgewood was brought back. And again, it won't be a very, very expensive contract for Wedgewood. Holtby, I don't know if Dallas brings him back. I don't think so. But it'll be interesting to see what they do. Do you bring back Holtby? Do you sign him for another year? Do you bring back Wedgewood? Does Holtby maybe sign in Washington for a year? So just throwing that out there, right? Then your RFAs, Gurianov, the goal scoring is there. I think the talent is there, but the consistency hasn't been where you want it to be. So I think they keep Gurianov. I don't think he gets a big raise. Probably a 2-year deal, I would think, for Gurianov. Robertson is going to be pricey, and rightfully so. Jason Robertson is the most explosive forward this team has by a lot. And it's interesting because last year, of course, Robertson was second in the Calder vote to Kaprizov. And famously, there was one writer that voted Robertson as the number one Rookie of the Year candidate over Kaprizov, which caused some kerfuffle. But the reality is, I can see with Robertson and Kaprizov why those two might be tied to each other beyond that. They're both dynamic forwards. You can tell when Robertson's on the ice, he transforms the game, and he does it from the wing. So, honestly, Robertson, I think, is a fantastic forward, and I do hope that we're just seeing the start of what he can do. Studenic, I thought, was a decent pickup for them on waivers. Wouldn't mind seeing him in the bottom six. Again, it'll be a cheap contract, relatively young player. And then there's Ottinger. Ottinger's the big what's going to happen here thing. So, again, this is, if you look at his regular season numbers, 30 wins, 914 save percentage, good. You look at his playoff numbers, absolutely fantastic. So you can look at this and say, well, clearly he's going to be a really good starting goaltender. You want to lock him down for 6+ years. Or you can look at it and say, that was a great first round. His numbers so far have been good. Not Vezina level yet. So maybe you give him a 2-year deal or a 3-year deal rather than a longer-term contract. Maybe you give him a little bit less right now, with the idea being you might end up spending more later. So your longer-term contracts, you're trying to make sure that in years 4, 5, and 6, you've got that certainty and you don't have to worry about him asking for a lot more. Whereas if you sign somebody over a 2 or 3-year deal, you might end up spending a ton more money later on. So we'll see which tactic they take. Do you sign him long-term? Do you sign him short-term? But at least I don't believe Ottinger will end up being sent down to the AHL next year. I think that's done. I found it bewildering that he was sent down to the AHL at all this year anyways. I understood why. I may not have 100% agreed with it, but I understood why he was sent down to the minors as he was. And when you look at this team's record over the last decade, there have been some interesting decisions the whole way along. So 2013, they missed the playoffs. 2014, they lost in the first round against Anaheim in 6. 2015, no playoffs. Then 2016, they're back in. They're doing that one in, one out period. They lost in round 2 in 7 games, I should say, against St. Louis. In that series, they could score, couldn't keep the puck out of their net. 2017 and 2018, no playoffs for Dallas. 2019, they lost in round 2. Full 7-game series against St. Louis. So St. Louis is a bad matchup for them. 2020, they lost in the Stanley Cup final in 6 against Tampa. It was a classic Cinderella run. Nobody saw it coming, and they didn't get near it the following season. 2021, they did not make the playoffs. And then, as I've said, this year, of course, they lose against the Calgary Flames in 7 in the first round. So next year, your guess is as good as mine. If they follow other patterns, they probably miss the playoffs next year. Sure. It is interesting because when you look at Dallas's history, And I'm not sure if it's because this is a team that doesn't get as much attention as others. I think that's part of it. They miss the playoffs a lot. They miss the playoffs a lot more than I think people realize. So, yeah, this coming year is going to be really key for them. It feels like they've got a good young core now. They've got that good young goaltender with Ottinger, and it's building around it. So can they? Can they build around it? Can they make this work? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happen upon this video. And hey, how do you think they figure out this whole cap situation, and which contract might they try to move if they do end up with Robertson, Ottinger making a ton of money, and then you try to keep Klingberg? Can they make that all that work? There is some question about that, and I'm not sure that they can, but let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.